When empires rise, they never look fragile. They look inevitable. Their leaders, visionaries. Their mission, noble. And the world, eager to believe, follows without question. In 2021, Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't a criminal. He was a prodigy, the next Warren Buffett, the billionaire who claimed he didn't care about money, a man who lived in shorts, slept on beanbags, and promised to give everything away. Media worshipped him, investors poured in billions, celebrities lined up for endorsements, politicians opened their doors. But trust is the most dangerous currency of all, because when it's spent recklessly, it always collapses. Every collapse begins the same way, with a story that sounds too good to question. A story built not on numbers, but on faith. FTX wasn't just a company, it was a promise that crypto could be safe, ethical, and unstoppable. A promise billions believed in until the illusion cracked. This is not a story about crypto. It's a story about trust and how it turns ordinary people into believers and believers into victims. It started like most revolutions with an idea and a young man who thought he could fix the system. Sam Bankman-Fried was born into privilege, the son of two Stanford law professors. But at MIT, he discovered something more powerful than law: markets. Not the kind that build nations, but the kind that move silently, in milliseconds. After graduation, he joined Jane Street, one of the world's most secretive trading firms. There he learned the art of arbitrage, making millions from tiny differences in price. But to him, it wasn't about profit, it was about purpose, or so he said. He left Wall Street behind to build his own empire. First came Alameda Research, a small trading firm that promised to make money to give it away. Then in 2019, he created FTX, a crypto exchange built by traders for traders. Fast, cheap, and, most importantly, trustworthy. The timing was perfect. Crypto was exploding. The world was chasing the next Bitcoin. And Sam, and with his messy hair and moral slogans, became the face of a movement. He didn't wear suits. He didn't talk like a CEO. He talked like a philosopher. He called it effective altruism. The idea that wealth only matters if it saves the world. That message was irresistible. Venture capitalists who once demanded spreadsheets now demanded selfies. Media outlets compared him to Warren Buffett, Einstein, and even Gandhi. Billions poured in: Sequoia, SoftBank, BlackRock. All convinced that this awkward genius had built the future of finance. But they weren't investing in data. They were investing in belief. And belief, when it grows too fast, becomes blind. Every empire has a secret room, the place where the truth doesn't fit the story. For FTX, that room was called Alameda Research, the same firm Sam had built before his exchange even existed. On paper, they were separate. In reality, they were one and the same. Alameda wasn't just trading, it was borrowing. Borrowing billions in customer funds from FTX. Money meant to be safe, money that belonged to ordinary people, institutions, charities, anyone who believed the promise of a trustworthy exchange. The mechanism was simple, and that's what made it dangerous. When customers deposited money into FTX, those funds were quietly redirected into Alameda's accounts, then leveraged, reused, lost. Inside the company, a small circle knew: Sam, Caroline Ellison, Alameda's CEO, and a handful of coders who built a secret backdoor into the system, a piece of code that allowed Alameda to withdraw unlimited funds without triggering alarms. Risk management? There was none. Balance sheets were written on spreadsheets that didn't match. Assets were FTT tokens, a currency Sam had invented himself. The same tokens FTX used to value its own empire. It was trust layered on top of illusion, a house of cards built from confidence and code. Yet, the world still believed. The logos, the celebrities, the Super Bowl ads, all of it reinforced the lie. But truth doesn't need permission to surface. It only needs pressure. And that pressure was coming. It took years to build the illusion. It took 48 hours to destroy it. On November 6, 2022, a single tweet from Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao, CZ, ignited a storm. He announced that Binance would sell its holdings of FTT, the token that propped up FTX's empire. He didn't accuse Sam of fraud. He didn't need to. Markets move on fear, not facts. And fear spreads faster than any virus. Within hours, billions in customer withdrawals flooded FTX. The exchange that once promised liquidity on demand had none. Behind the scenes, the numbers unraveled. FTX owed $8 billion it didn't have. Alameda's balance sheet, once strong, was built almost entirely on air. Tokens that Sam had created, valued, and resold to himself. On social media, Sam tried to reassure investors. He tweeted, "Assets are fine." They weren't. The next day, FTX is fine. It wasn't. By November 8th, withdrawals were frozen. Customers locked out of their funds. FTX, the world's second largest crypto exchange, was insolvent. Then came the ultimate irony. CZ, the man whose tweet had started it all, stepped in, offering to buy FTX. For 24 hours, it looked like salvation, until Binance opened the books. What they found was worse than fraud. It was chaos. No accounting, no separation of funds, no leadership. Just billions missing, and silence where explanations should have been. By the end of the week, the deal was dead. FTX had collapsed. Sam had fallen. And the world finally saw the truth. When the dust settled, the illusion was gone. FTX had filed for bankruptcy. Billions in customer funds vanished. Investors were left with nothing but screenshots and disbelief. The man once called the savior of crypto was now the face of its greatest betrayal. In 2023, Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested, tried, and convicted. The charges: fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. The same media that once praised his moral capitalism now called him a symbol of greed. But beneath the headlines, something deeper was exposed. Not just a financial collapse, but a psychological one. The world didn't lose billions because of math. It lost billions because of belief. Because trust, once given freely, is almost impossible to question until it's too late. We wanted to believe that someone like Sam could exist. A billionaire who didn't care about money, a capitalist with a conscience, a savior with a spreadsheet. But stories built on faith don't survive truth. In the courtroom, Sam looked smaller. No beanbags, no conference lights. Just a man facing the reality he'd created and the silence of a world that finally stopped believing. And as the verdict was read, it wasn't just a man being judged. It was the entire idea that good intentions could ever replace accountability. Empires don't collapse because of numbers. They collapse because of people who believe too deeply, too quickly, and too blindly. FTX wasn't just a failure of code or accounting. It was a failure of trust, the most valuable and the most fragile asset we have. Because when faith becomes currency, it can buy anything except the truth. And the truth always collects. In the end, FTX was never just about crypto. It was about us, our desire to believe in easy heroes, and our refusal to see the cracks until everything falls apart. If this story made you think, subscribe, because the next one is already being written.